Today we have Dr. Ravi Andrews, a leading nephrologist in the state and in the country. And as you have seen from his song earlier, he actually needs no introduction. But since you all need to know a little bit more, I just wanted to say that he is a nephrologist and not an ordinary nephrologist, not an ordinary doctor. He's a doctor with a passion to make people fit. That's why he said Homo sapien. So he wants Homo sapiens to be fit, Homo sapiens. So let us discuss with him all kinds of questions that we all have in general about our kidney health, about our general health, and about fitness. Fitness is a fad these days, and many people are taking to proteins, going to gyms, and we have seen all whatever is happening in gyms, etc. So he is the right man to talk to. Welcome to our program, Dr. Ravi Andrews. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much, Kalyan, for having me and the team at New India Express. And I hope the viewers are going to enjoy this conversation. And I hope you go away with some takeaway that we can teach you, and so that you can live a better and happier and a more productive life.
Dr. Andrews, my first question is, what exactly? I understand the concept of being a Homo sapien, but how should a man, what should a man or a woman should do? What should a man or a woman do to fit in general, without having to go to gyms or this and that? Because these days people are afraid. I have seen most people are afraid. If not most, many, a substantial number are afraid because of the blood clots, sudden heart attacks, etc. So what should a man do?
Yes. So Kalyan, I think I'll dwell a little bit in detail on this question, because I don't think it's possible to stay fit without doing some kind of physical activity. Whether it's gym or yoga or walking or playing a game, you have to do some physical activity. It's just not possible to stay fit. You might say that I want to diet and that will keep me fit. But no, a diet alone is not enough. You might say I will exercise, but I will not diet. But that also is not good enough. This is complementary. Diet, exercise, and lifestyle changes are all complementary. You cannot outrun a bad diet. And just because you eat right doesn't mean your muscles will become tight. So they're always complementary. These stories that you've been hearing about people who have sudden deaths in gyms. Now, for every one person who has a sudden death in a gym, I can tell you 1,000 people who have sudden death because of not doing exercise or not doing gym. We hear of people, I'll draw an analogy here. We hear of people going to sleep and dying. They just, they say goodbye to the family members, they go to the bedroom, they sleep, and next day the family members find that they're dead. Does that mean you won't sleep? So I think this is just fear mongering that gym can make you die. People who don't want to do it use as an excuse. One important thing is the technique of doing any physical activity. And if you do it wrong, there's this possibility of sudden death. I'll give you an example. These deadlifts, which everybody does. Now, when you do deadlifts, you're supposed to breathe appropriately. When you exert, you exhale. And when you don't exert, you inhale. That is the key. Now, what happens when people don't get this rhythm right? While they're exerting, they're inhaling, or they're holding the breath. Most of the time when they do these heavy exercises, they hold their breath. There's a medical term called Valsalva maneuver. In this Valsalva maneuver, when you hold your breath, the blood supply to the heart gets reduced. So when they do this, when they do these heavy lifting, they hold their breath, this Valsalva maneuver happens, the blood supply to the heart reduces, to the heart and the brain reduces, and they collapse. So it's not the gym that is doing it, it is their technique is wrong, plus maybe they're not been doing it on a regular basis, so they're already basically a little unfit. So and you need to go into it slowly. You can't just jump into it and say I will do 2 hours of gym at a time. You have to do it slowly phase yourself into it. Take guidance initially, and then once you have guidance, you can do it. So this myth that gym people can die suddenly, and that's why you don't want to go to the gym, I don't think we should look at that. Now, the general public, how do we stay fit? I've already said diet, exercise, and lifestyle. So lifestyle, I'm talking about your making sure you don't have too much alcohol, smoking, not too much late nights, sleep appropriately. Stress, we all have stresses in our life, but you need to find a way to deal with it. There's nobody in this world who does not have stress. How you deal with it is what is important. And the key here, which is what I follow, to find that 1 hour of time for exercise. That is a big challenge. Many people say, in fact, the biggest excuse people use is, I don't have the time. I can't buy it. We all have 24 hours and we need to utilize it properly. The way to do it is, when you get out of bed, think your day has 23 hours. Don't think it has 24 hours. Think you have 23 hours. That 1 hour is for exercise. You have to find time to do that. But the minute you think that my day has only 23 hours, then there's a possibility that you'll find that 1 hour to do. And there's something called the time matrix, which I have devised. It's called the Homo Sapien time matrix. Do you want me to tell you now itself? Okay. Now this time matrix, you divide, this is basically about your personal life. How you find time in your personal life to get this 1 hour of workout time. See, because work you cannot do anything about. Your boss is not going to listen to you if you say, I want 1 hour time to go to the gym. So you will have to find time from your personal life. You divide your personal life into 4 quadrants. Things that make you happy and things that do not make you happy. Things that you can avoid and things you cannot avoid. 4 things. So you slot everything into these 4 groups. So things that make you happy. Let's say music makes you happy and you cannot give up on it. So you club it with exercise. You listen to music while driving. You listen to music just before sleeping. You listen to music while having dinner. You listen to music while exercising. So you get your exercise, so you don't give up on it, plus you get it. Things that make you happy, but you can give up on. Like, for example, playing cricket with your buddies. It makes you happy. And you can give it up, right? Because to play cricket with your buddies, you need to have a field, you need to have 10, 11 people at the same time. So, but why would you want to give it up if it makes you happy? So do it on a weekend. So things that make you happy, which you can give up, do it on a weekend. And remember, weekend you have less work, so you have more time. And you can get all your buddies together and do it on a weekend. Things that do not make you happy, but you cannot give up on. Like say you need to attend a family function on your partner's side. You don't want to go. So you can delegate it. You can send your partner for their program. Or you can try and work it so it happens on a weekend. Or you can try and like it. So things that make you, that you cannot give up but don't make you happy, you will have to figure this out. There are certain things that don't make you happy and that you can give up on. Social media. All of us are stuck on social media, on Instagram, putting posts, reels, Facebook, WhatsApp. There are so many WhatsApp groups we are part of, but we don't really contribute to it. Just get off those groups and nobody will miss you. And even social media, Instagram, once you see one reel, you want to go to another reel, you just keep on scrolling. Put a stop there. You need some discipline here. Without that, it's not possible. Even YouTube. Sometimes you go onto a YouTube channel and then you see some video that will lead you to another one, that will lead you to another one. If you can just cut it short there, no, I'm not going to go further, you will easily save that 1 hour of time. The other trick that I have used is do everything at the same time every day. Make that discipline. So if you do everything at the same time, say you get up and you brush your teeth at the same time every day, if you repetitively do something, you can do it in less time. So you'll save a few minutes and few seconds by doing this disciplinary thing every day, everything at the same time. You'll get few minutes, and all this together will give you the 1 hour of time in your 23-hour day to do your exercise. That's a very, very, very long answer, but I think, I hope it explains the point.
You hit the nail on the head. You said discipline. This is what is lacking in most of the people. They have the desire to be fit. I want to do this, I want to do that. But when it comes to putting in an effort, they lack the discipline. But what you said about doing everything at the same time every day, the mind also gets attuned to it.
Yes.
So this might help. You're also a motivational speaker. If somebody says I'm unable to do it, would your answer be the same?
See, unable to do it, we're all human beings, and I don't think any of us really lack motivation. Most of us have reached the position that we are in because of motivation. The problem is we don't direct that motivation in the right place. And that's what you need to understand. You need to understand that your health is important. For some reason, general public does not believe that their health is important. They believe their job is important, their family is important, this is important. Remember, you're born with your body. Everything else will leave you. Your spouse will leave you, your children will leave you, your parents will leave you, your siblings will leave you, your friends will leave you, your job, you'll have to leave it. The only thing that stays with you from your birth to your death is your body. You'd better take care of it, otherwise it will let you down. If you don't take care of your body, we doctors will have to take care of it for you. So, it's not that they lack discipline, it's just that they don't understand the importance of discipline and the importance of keeping yourself fit and healthy. And you need to direct your motivation in the direction of health and fitness. And we're talking about this 1 hour. We're not asking for 2-3 hours, 1 hour in a day. I'm sure you can spare it, and I'm sure they can motivate themselves. So when people ask me, I'm not motivated, I'm not disciplined, I say, no, you are. It's just that you don't know that you are. You reached here at whichever level that you're working at, you reached here because of discipline and because of motivation. You need to understand yourself and know that you have it inside you.
A lot of people also these days, particularly after COVID, are popping these multivitamins. And when they go to gym, for instance, they take these proteins, whey protein, this protein, that protein, and you have YouTube as the guide. So there are so many YouTube tutorials, or this bodybuilder, that bodybuilder will advise something, this, something.
Exactly.
So I have seen several people who do this. There is a lot of demand for these whey proteins and other things.
Yes.
Is this advisable? I mean, what do you tell them?
So my first answer is no. This is not advisable, and I'll explain it to you. Let's talk about multivitamins first. One little pill. How much will you get in it? How much will you get from it? Or a few milligrams, or micro milligrams of vitamin. That you can get from your diet. You can get more of that from your diet. You don't need to take a pill for that. They say expensive pills, expensive multivitamin pills make expensive urine. So whatever, so whatever multivitamin pill you take, it will go out in your urine and it's done. It's not working anyway. So multivitamin pills, I think, are definitely a no-no. They're not going to help you in any way. Just a waste of time, waste of money. About the protein supplements. Now, many youngsters come to me in the gym and they ask me, doctor, can you tell me whether I should take which protein supplement I should take, this one, that one? I say, don't take any protein supplements. For two reasons, two basic reasons. There are a lot of other things as well, but I'll tell you the two main reasons. All these protein supplements have something called creatine in it. Creatine is a precursor of creatinine, which is supposed to be excreted by the kidney. So high creatinine level indicates kidney problem. So if you're taking a lot of creatine in your protein supplement, your creatinine levels are going to go up in your blood. The kidney has to work overtime to excrete it, and many a time it fails. So the creatinine levels will go up in the blood. So, and those who have already got a kidney problem, you're already overloading the kidney, which is already dysfunctional, with this creatine, which it gets converted to creatinine. So from that perspective, it should be avoided. And I would suggest every person who goes to gym, or any individual, should do a serum creatinine test by the age of 20. One of each of us, like we do blood sugar, blood pressure testing, all of us should have a serum creatinine by the age of 20. The reason being, kidney function or kidney problems are very silent. They give no symptoms till it's too late. And the easiest way to find out that you have a kidney problem is to do a serum creatinine. Simple blood test can be done anywhere. So that is about the supplement. The other problem with protein supplements is anything that comes off a shelf, and this is a rule of thumb too, anything that comes off a shelf has to be preserved. It cannot be fresh, right? And the commonest, the universal, the ubiquitous preservative is salt. Salt is a standard preservative, so anything which is preserved with salt. Though they don't write it in the label, but salt has to be there. Now, when you are taking more salt, you run the risk of 1, blood pressure increasing, 2, getting kidney and heart problems, 3, retention of water, because more salt you take, more water retention, so you'll be putting on weight. So that weight that they put on because of the protein supplements is not necessarily muscle weight. It is muscle plus salt and water, and their blood pressure goes up. You find most gymmers, even youngsters, their blood pressure is usually on the higher side. It's because of these protein supplements that they take. And see, at the end of the day, what do you want to be? You don't want to be Mr. India or Mr. Olympus, right? You just want to be a nice, fit, healthy person. Fit and healthy. They're different things. Fitness doesn't necessarily equal to being healthy. The only way to bridge this gap is to go natural. So, if you want to take protein, you take natural protein, animal protein or veg protein, whichever. Vegetarians, there are enough protein sources. You have tofu, you have soya, you have milk, you have paneer, you have dal, you have nuts. So, all those sources for vegetarians. Non-vegetarians, you have enough animal sources of protein. Egg white is probably the safest animal protein that you can think of. So, you don't want to be Arnold Schwarzenegger or something like that. For those who are professionally into bodybuilding or wrestling, for them, yes, protein supplements make sense. But then they will have to pay for it later in life. I think Schwarzenegger has already had 3 or 4 bypasses. Yeah. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, you talked about salt. We all use salt in our daily food.
Yes.
How does that affect us? See, because some people also want to abstain from salt. They don't want to use salt at all. They want to eat only boiled vegetables, which is very, difficult. But I don't know. Is this a good thing? Completely avoiding salt altogether?
Yeah. So again, anything in life is about balance. There's always a spectrum, and you cannot be at totally one end of the spectrum or this end of the spectrum. For example, salt. You cannot be totally at 0 salt, or you cannot be totally at very high salt. You have to find a balance somewhere and stay somewhere within that spectrum to be reasonably healthy. Yes, in certain situations, medical situations, we say 0 salt diet. For somebody who's got kidney failure and heart failure together, then we tell them you have to be, some situations you have to be 0 salt diet. But for general public, for people like you and me, little bit of salt is okay. Unfortunately, in our Indian diet, we take way too much more salt than we require. The normal Indian diet has 10 to 15 grams of salt per day. The daily requirement is 6 to 10 grams of salt per day. I'm not talking about salt means sodium chloride, not just sodium. So 6 grams of salt, which is sodium chloride, equals to 2.4 grams of sodium. And it's sodium that's important. It's not chloride that's important. Whatever. So 10 to 15 is what we normally take in an Indian diet. You need to cut it down to half of that. And you will realize that once you get whoever is cooking in the kitchen, once you get them to reduce the amount of salt in your diet, you find that the minute they put little extra salt, you won't be able to eat it. Because salt is an acquired taste. When we were babies, we're not given salt. We don't need salt. It's just that we start eating it again as a preservative because we want to preserve food. So we use salt and we eat salt, and then we increase the amount of salt we take, and very quietly. Papads, pickles, chips, French fries, mixtures, junk food. These all have salt. And surprisingly, bakery items have salt. So biscuits and all, which actually taste pastries, biscuits which actually taste sweet, have got salt in it. So we are taking salt in huge amounts without even realizing it. So this thing about boiled vegetables and 0 salt, I don't agree with it. Maybe just little bit of salt, 40 seconds, you won't eat anything. So you will anyway become malnourished. You have to have some amount of salt to eat. So little bit of salt, but like I said, whoever is cooking, tell them to make it 50%. And that will protect you from a lot of things. High salt intake causes high blood pressure. It can cause kidney problems. It can cause heart problems. There are certain cancers which could also be precipitated by taking excessive salt. So try and avoid, minimize salt, not avoid it.
The requirement vary with where you live, more humid environment.
Definitely, because if you sweat more, then you're likely to lose more salts. But your body will tell you. You don't need any dramatic chart or something to tell you how much salt to take. Your body will tell you that I'm dehydrated, so you need to drink a little more water. So, but in the humid environments, it's more water that goes rather than the salt. Salts also go, but maybe you can increase salt intake in a humid environment by maybe 2 grams per day. That's a good question. Yeah, that's something which out of the box question. Yeah.
You spoke about supplements, right? Multivitamins or
yes.
Not issue. What about some say vitamin B12? Vegetarians might require vitamin D. Those things.
Yes.
Is there anything?
Yes. So these are based on investigations. Now you're right. Vegetarians they have very little source of B12. So those who are pure vegetarians, they would have some kind of symptoms like burning in the feet, tingling, some sleep disturbances, sometimes have visual problems, hemoglobin might drop, B12 deficiency causes low hemoglobin. So if they have any of these things, many a times some vegetarians can process whichever B12 that they get. All vegetarians don't necessarily have B12 deficiency, but those who do, you can prove it by doing a vitamin B12 level, and if the levels are low, then you can either supplement it with oral or injectable. But most of the time, B12 supplements don't work orally. So they will require injectable B12 supplements. As far as vitamin D is concerned, most of us Indians do have vitamin D deficiency. It's not because we don't go out in the sun or anything, but because we have more melanin. We're darker than the foreigners, so the absorption of the sun rays will be impaired. So vitamin D levels will be lower amongst us. So this dark skin will not protect us from vitamin D deficiency, but dark skin provides us from cancers. Fair skinned people have more risk of getting skin cancer. So that way the melanin protects us. So that's a trade-off. So you either have vitamin D deficiency or you have a cancer. You decide what you want. So vitamin D deficiency is very commonly described among Indians. One way to do it is to check the level, and the normal range in most labs is about 50. So 30 to 50 is borderline. Below 30 is deficiency, definite deficiency. So you can take supplements. Again, be careful with the vitamin D supplements, because people, once they start, they just go on and on and on taking, and they get vitamin D toxicity and they get into more problems. So the recommendation is, if you prove that you have vitamin D deficiency, take the supplements for 6 months. What we generally do is there's something called vitamin D high dose, 60K. That tablet you take once a week for 8 weeks. Then you take once a month. Complete the 6-month course, and after 6 months, you repeat the level. And then based on that, you have to be scientific about all these things. And fortunately, now we're in a situation, as far as medical expertise is concerned, we can do testing for almost everything. We can prove things. So vitamin D level, B12 levels, that will help you decide where you stand, and help you decide whether you need supplements or not.
Other? Say zinc or something, any other that would do?
No, see, there are some labs which offer everything. They'll do zinc, molybdenum, testosterone, this, that and all. See, these things we really don't require, because in our normal diet, we get enough of these things. You don't really need to supplement them. So again, these multivitamins, how many things will you go on supplementing? You start testing, you'll probably find the deficiency of everything in our body. Make it simple, eat normally, exercise normally, don't take any supplements. And if you have particular symptoms like vitamin D, you will have a lot of weakness, you'll have body aches, you might have frequent fractures. If you have something like that, check your levels. Or if you're going to check your levels anyway, you have these regular health checkups. In fact, that's what I would like to recommend to everybody. Have a regular health checkup, full body checkup, and see where you stand. And these minor, and then follow up with the doctor. Let them decide whether your zinc deficiency is causing a problem, or lead toxicity, or whatever. So once you have one full health checkup, and most of these programs which provide health checkup, they have a doctor also coming to see your reports and giving you the advice. So get that done, and then if you have a problem, deal with it. But minor problems, don't bother about. And it's the doctor who is the best judge to decide whether the problem is minor or not. You don't look at the report and say, oh my God, my zinc is so low, I better do something about it. So leave it to the doctor. He's been practicing and training for at least 15 years to take care of you.
Spoke about breathing, right? Breathing during exercises, people might do it improperly. Can you just go back to it?
Yeah, let's go back.
What mistake?
Yeah, see, to simplify things, when you exert, you should exhale. So, say you're doing biceps. This is the exertion for bicep. Exhale. And the opposite, inhale. Yeah, I'm very confused now. Exhale, inhale. That's what we do. For triceps, it's the other way. The triceps, the exertion part is this. This muscle. So when you exhale, that's the opposite. And when you are doing this, the opposite direction for triceps. So each exercise is different. So you have to decide in that exercise which is the exhaling, which is the exertion part, and exhale that time. So if you do it the ulta, then it's going to be a problem with the rhythm. But more important than the inhaling and exhaling is, the biggest mistake people do is hold their breath while they're doing the weights. Doing a really heavy, you do that. Not breathing. That's where the problem, that's where the Valsalva thing happens and the blood supply to your brain gets knocked off. So it's not just about the inhaling, exhaling, it's about not holding your breath while doing exercise, especially the heavy weight thing.
So how much water should we really drink per day? There's huge debate on that.
Oh,
People
yes.
say like, this much, how much should, and they also say there is a different amount of water that a man or woman should, drink. So how much really?
Yeah. $1 million question, $1 million answer. It's very simple. 2 to 3 liters is a recommendation of fluid intake per day, whether you're a man or woman. That's why it's 2 to 3. Women might maybe require less than a man. Again, it all depends on their activity level. So, a woman who is very physically active, who works out, who works in the sun or, doesn't have access to AC, who sweats a lot, sweating again is different from different people to people. So, if you're that type, then maybe a little closer to 3. Otherwise, closer to 2. And again, your body will tell you. If you feel thirsty, that means you're short on water, you drink more. If you don't feel thirsty, don't force yourself. People end up drinking 7, 8, 9, 10 liters of liquids per day. Where is it going to go? It's got to come out to the kidney, right? Where no other way, no other exit. So the kidney is working overtime. You're overloading the poor kidneys as it is working 24 into 7 into 365, 366 sometimes. And you're drinking 8, 10 liters and making it work overtime. The other problem with drinking too much water is it dilutes the essential chemicals in your blood, like sodium, potassium, magnesium, because everything is distributed in your body, right? In the water thing, our bodies are 60% water. So if you drink more water, say your sodium is say 130, 140 being normal. You drink more, that 140, you drink 3 liters, it will remain 140. You drink 8 liters, that 140 will become 130. And low sodium is dangerous. It can kill. It can kill low sodium. And the standard example is Bruce Lee. That famous martial arts legend, that Kung Fu guy, Jeet Kune Do, he started his new thing. His mantra was, be water, my friend. That was his mantra. Be water, my friend. So what he was trying to say is, you should drink lots and lots and lots of water. Now, there are a lot of conspiracy theories about how he died. He was suddenly found dead in his partner's room. And everybody thought, first they thought poisoning, this, that and all. But finally, a group of nephrologists or some physicians got together and they went back to all the history and all whatever things he used to do and his background. And they realized that he died of low sodium. So what happens, he used to drink 10 tons and tons, 10 liters and all of water. And the sodium levels dropped. When sodium levels drop, you become tired, weak, drowsy. Then you can have seizures. You can go into coma and you die. And that happens because the brain swells up. So you drink more water, so all the sodium in the blood gets diluted and water also reaches your brain. I mean, this is a very rough way of saying it. There are some technical ways. There's something called blood-brain barrier, but you won't go into that. But the water also goes inside the brain and brain gets all swollen up. And unfortunately, the brain has no space to expand because it's covered by the hard skull, sometimes by hair. So no place to expand. So because the brain expands, it starts going down into this area. It's called herniation. So this brain starts going into your neck area and all the vital structures are right there. And they get compressed and you can die. So drinking too much water, no. 2 to 3 liters per day. A very hot environment, you're sweating a lot, maybe increase it by 500 ml. So that's the maximum you should drink. Don't believe all these things that you should drink 7, 8, 9, 10 liters. The only group of people, there are 2 groups of people where we advise more fluid intake. One is those who have kidney stones. Those people we say minimum 3 liters. Otherwise it's 2 to 3. So those who have kidney stones, we suggest that you have a minimum 3 liters because that helps reducing the risk of stone formation. And the second group of people we advise to have more fluid is post-transplant patients. These transplant patients, since they have the single kidney and we need to protect it, we need to make sure there's enough blood flowing through that transplant kidney. For them we say 4 to 5 liters, but not 7, 8 liters. So these are only 2 groups of people who would need to drink more water. Otherwise, standard people, 2 to 3 liters per day. Long answer, but it's $1 million question, so it has to be $1 million answer. $1 million word answer.
So, in cases where people have kidney stones, but they also need calcium intake for other reasons.
Yes.
How can that be balanced?
Good question. This is almost a medical question. So let me tell you a little bit about stones. There are basically three kinds of stones: calcium stones, uric acid stones, and oxalate stones. Calcium stones are formed naturally if you take a lot of calcium, so milk products. Oxalate stones, if you take a lot of oxalate, like tomato, palak, these things have got more oxalate in. And uric acid stone, if you take a lot of non-veg or alcohol. So red meat, alcohol, wine, cabbage, cauliflower, among the vegetables, cabbage, cauliflower, these are the things that cause high uric acid. Ideally, you need to define or find out what kind of stone you have. That's possible. There are some biochemical analysis of stone. So if you can get hold of the stone, analyze it, you will know whether it's calcium, uric acid, or oxalate stone. There are some other stones like infection stones and all that, but they're not very common. We won't really talk about those things. Now, if you have a calcium stone and you test your calcium level, because it's very unlikely that you're going to have low calcium level and the stone. I mean, if you have even if you have a calcium stone, if your calcium levels are low, it's unlikely that you will get a calcium stone. So check the level and monitor it, and then take your calcium supplements. Your question is those who need calcium supplements, right? So obviously these are people who have got low calcium.
Especially women.
Yeah. So for them, you check the calcium levels at least once in 3 months, and you can give very minor supplements of calcium, but make sure you're keeping the calcium levels at a lower limit of normal. The normal calcium level is in most labs is 8.5 to 10.1 milligram per deciliter. So for these people who have got calcium stones, keep it closer to 8.5. Don't let it go below 8.5, but don't let it go above 9 also. So that's how you titrate it. And we have tests for the uric acid levels also, so you can do that. Oxalate stones, I'll tell you something interesting about that. Now, when those who get oxalate stones, you should never tell them, and these oxalate stones are usually calcium oxalate. They're not pure oxalate, calcium oxalate. You should never tell them to take less calcium. See, I mean, it sounds silly, right? You're getting calcium oxalate stone and the doctor is telling you don't take less calcium. What happens is oxalate is there in the gut. And if you take calcium, calcium and oxalate will bind together and it doesn't get absorbed. Pure oxalate will get absorbed. It will go from your intestine, it will go into your bloodstream and go into the kidney. But if it is complexed with calcium and a calcium oxalate complex, it's a bigger molecule. It doesn't go into through your gut into your bloodstream and into your kidney. So that will protect you from oxalate stones. So for whatever reason, whether it's calcium stone or oxalate stone, the recommendation is to take normal calcium diet. And if you're for oxalate stone, if it's a calcium stone, then you take normal calcium diet and titrate the calcium intake to keep your calcium at lower limit of the normal range. I hope that answers the question.
One more thing, so we're talking about YouTube channels and social media. There are a lot of influencers that come who tell what to eat,
Yes.
what not to eat, and
Yeah.
they're increasing day by day. It's also creating confusion. Which
Correct.
diet, this diet, that diet. We are being driven away from what we eat regularly. So, how do we decide what is right as far as food and food habits are concerned?
Yeah. Now, I don't know whether this regulation or these rules are already there or they should be there, that whenever anybody gives, YouTube should have a requirement that whenever anybody gives medical advice, they should put their degrees there. They should show their qualifications and say why they are empowered to give this advice. Now, if the YouTube channels make this rule, I think most of the problems will go, because see, everybody is coming there and giving their gyan and people are listening. And the problem is at both sides. One is people are listening. Why would you listen to somebody like there's some Veera Machinini diet or something? That from what I know, he's a chartered accountant. Chartered accountant telling you about diet. I mean, why does it make any sense? And people are actually following it. So, one, people need to be smarter and understand and decide that person that they're listening to, whether that person is really qualified or not. Two, the channels also should have some kind of regulation. Those who do not have knowledge should not say it. The channel itself should block it. When you put something which is not child friendly, the channel blocks it. When you try to put something on YouTube which is not child friendly, straight away it gets blocked. When you say something on Facebook which is against the political whatever scenario, it gets blocked. Why can't they do the same thing for this? In fact, this is more important. So these influencers and all, and they should all, and influencers are going to say whatever they say because they are going to they get paid for it. I mean, from what I know, they get paid for it. So they're going to say whatever they want to say. So this is how it should be. Either the regulation should be from the channel itself and from the person who is listening to it as well. And this is something which I want to bring up. This is kind of related to your question as well. For some reason, every human being wants to give medical advice. I don't know why this fascination to give. I'm sure you also would have done it, right? If one of your friends had some sprain or ache or something, you'd say, "Arey, I had that. You also do. I did this. So you also do that." And this is in human nature. I don't know why we cannot get over it. Now, somebody will not give advice to somebody about their IT thing. Some will not give advice about building a house to somebody. Nobody will give somebody advice on how to run a newspaper. But every Tom, Dick and Harry wants to give advice on how to take medicine, how to get better. When I suggest something, somebody comes to me with kidney failure and I say you need to do dialysis, they will talk to their family member, some friend will say, no, don't do dialysis, and they'll listen to them. They won't listen to the doctor. I don't know. And why do people want to give advice is something which I cannot understand. And it happens to all of us. All of us do it, I mean, as though we're experts in that field. But so it's very easy to give advice, and for some reason, people want to give medical advice. Have you noticed that phenomenon?
Yes, sir.
Medical advice is so freely given by everybody as though they're an expert. We take 15 years. It took me 15 years from 12th to become a nephrologist. And I also, when I give advice, I think 10 times before just saying something. But if people just give advice.
Recently, there was this news. People are just taking a
Like gems. Yeah. But among all the painkillers, if you ask me, from a kidney perspective, Dolo is the safest. Yeah. So I also recommend it for somebody who has pain. But what can you do? If you have pain or fever, you have to take something. But taking it just like that randomly, temperature 99, or I have a little ache and pain. What I'm going to play a game today, so I might get pain, so I'll take Dolo. That doesn't make sense. You've got to be sensible. Your body is your body. You have to be careful about it and not just burn the candle at both ends.
Coming back to your specialization and your question. First of all, kidney filters the waste. So can you briefly explain why stones form and can be prevented?
Yeah.
Because as at old age, many people suffer from this. It's a lot of pain.
Okay, now just for the first part of the question, kidney filters waste. In fact, the kidney has a lot of other functions apart from just filtering waste. So it maintains the hemoglobin through erythropoietin. It maintains your bone strength through vitamin D and calcium. A lot of hormonal balances are maintained through the kidney. It maintains the texture of the skin. So there are a lot of other functions. And it has crosstalk with a lot of other organs. The heart and the kidney have very close crosstalk. Whatever, we'll come to that later. About stones, any disease is always a genetic tendency with an environmental trigger. So let's take diabetes as a prototype of any disease. There is a genetic tendency, and if you have a trigger, like you eat a lot of sweet or you don't exercise properly, you'll get diabetes. Now I'm saying genetic tendency because some people will tell you, I eat so many sweets, I don't exercise, I don't have diabetes. So there's always a genetic tendency there. And there are some people who say, I'm very careful with my diet, I exercise regularly, but I still got diabetes. So this is, apart from diabetes, any disease, there's a genetic tendency with an environmental trigger. The same thing with a stone. All of us don't get stones. I mean, even if you drink less water, you take a lot of calcium, you take a lot of oxalate, some get stones, some don't get stones. Why? The reason is the tendency. So the first question we ask when somebody comes to us with a stone is, does anybody in your family have it? So if somebody in the family has it, then they generally have a genetic tendency, so they're likely to get it. So, and what are the environmental triggers that you can remove? Is the fluid, make sure the fluid intake is proper. Salt, again, I should have said this about when you talked about salt. Excess salt intake causes stone formation also. It is well proven because sodium is exchanged with calcium. in the urine. And the stones will form if there's, say, a lot of calcium in the blood. That calcium goes into the urine while being excreted. More calcium in the urine, you will get stones in the urine. Uric acid is high in the blood, that gets excreted through the kidney in the urine, and it can deposit as stones. So this is what happens. You have the genetic tendency and lifestyle changes. Either you drink less water, you take more salt, you take more protein, non-veg protein or high uric acid food, you take a lot of oxalate, you take a lot of calcium, you can get these stones. Prevention, ideal method would be to figure out what kind of stone it is, like whether it's oxalate, uric acid or calcium. If you know what stone it is, you can tailor your preventive measures to that particular stone. Otherwise, it's a blanket restriction. So, blanket restriction is drink at least 3 liters of fluid, take less salt, take less non-veg and red meat, stop alcohol, stop smoking. That anyway for every disease is there. Take normal calcium diet. Your question that time, so normal calcium, and do not take too much oxalate. So, reduce palak and tomato. These are the blanket restrictions that we give. And it's difficult to live your life. You know, a 20-year-old gets a stone and you give this blanket restriction for the rest of his life. It's difficult to do that. So, always better to try and find out what the composition of the stone is, and so that you can tailor it. And surgery. Next question is, when do you operate? You operate a stone only if it has slipped from, if you have the kidney there and the bladder here, and you have the ureter in between. If it slips from the kidney and it's stuck in the ureter, that's where you operate. You don't operate if the stone is, a small stone is there in the kidney, or if it's in the bladder, you don't operate. So the operation thing comes only when it's in the ureter and blocking the kidney. Otherwise, it's just sitting in the kidney and not doing anything. You don't need to do anything. You can, people talk about doing laser and this, that, but many a time while banging the stone, you might bang the kidney, part of the kidney tissue as well. So that could cause problems. So surgery only when the kidney is obstructed by the stone, and there are tests to prove it. Ultrasound and CT scan will tell you that the stone is in the ureter and blocked.
Sir, you said that physical exercise is a must, at least for 1 hour.
Yes.
Such exercise, yoga doing. But today, younger generation, they don't have even 5 minutes time to do physical exercise. Whenever they, morning, if they wake up, what they do, just open the mobile 24 hours, they are busy in this. Even going to toilets also, they are busy in this.
True.
So, what is the solution for this thing? So, how should we come out of this issue?
One is, sir, is education. You need to educate them, the children, and tell them the importance. If education doesn't work, it's carrot or stick. If carrot doesn't work, tell them I will give them some impetus, some thing to spend less time on the phone. If they don't, you take the phone away. I mean, at a younger age group, you can do it. And that's where you need to start. The stick is you take the phone away and tell, go out and play, which is what they used to do in my generation. I mean, you guys are less, you are younger than me, but my generation, the minute we started creating trouble at home, my father would kick us out, go play in the field with your buddies, don't come back into the house. So that
is missing here now. So in this emerging, this is missing actually, sir. What is the solution for it?
So we should create some sport. See, they're always playing on the phone, right? Whatever games they're playing. We have to somehow make them interested in physical sport. Now, pickleball is coming, and pickleball has become very popular nowadays. In fact, I've also started playing pickleball, and I realized the reason why it's so popular, because it's so easy. It doesn't need very high skill level, doesn't need high power. Anybody can play it, including kids. So I think we should somehow make them interested in outdoor sports, or even Xbox. Xbox also has some kind of physical activity. You know, not just sitting. I'm not talking about the PS4 or whatever. That Xbox, you actually start, stand in front of the screen and you actually do things. Or send them to a mall where they have all those games there. Usually on the 4th floor of the mall they have games. So this is how we do it. See, you can only advise and push a little bit. At the end of the day, they have to listen to you. So, but these are the methods. So basically, I remember we used to have one surgery professor with us, and once he complained, we were in, I think, anatomy or something. So we used to go to the hospital for classes. So he complained to our teachers, we were juniors. One of them complained, one of the surgery professors complained to our teacher, these fellows are not attending my classes. So the head of the department, who was a boss of this surgery professor, he said, you are not making the classes interesting. That's why they are not coming. So I think the same analogy, you have to make outdoor sport, somehow make it interesting for them. So these summer camps, send them for swimming or whatever, boot camp. That's the only way to get them to be physically active. So either confiscate the phones or make things interesting. Somehow we have to think out of the box and do this, because the standard methods are not working. I know this is your question doesn't really have an easy answer, but we need to put our minds to it and get them to do it. I know, I'm sorry I can't answer that question properly, but that's what it is. Some questions have no answers.
No, it's a solution. What should be the solution? But that was my intention to give.
So try and make physical activity more interesting. Confiscate their mobile devices. Think of something out of the box, and we need to individualize it. So for each child is different.
Yes. Sir, today in majority of the hospital, big hospitals, we are seeing a disturbing trend. At least each hospital is treating 500 patients, kidney patients, related patients. So this trend is surging heavily. Most particularly, these kidney diseases are increasing in almost all the hospitals. Like NIMS, it is treating 500 hospitals. Apollo 4 to 500 per month. Mostly in the age group of youth people only, sir. What is the reason for it, sir? How to overcome this issue?
Yes, I think there are two reasons why the incidence of kidney disease is increasing. Or forget about kidney disease, any chronic disease, the incidence is increasing to my mind because of two reasons. One is, of course, the lifestyle. Today, lifestyle diseases, by lifestyle diseases, I'm talking about diabetes, blood pressure, heart disease, strokes, cancers. These are lifestyle diseases. Today, lifestyle diseases kill 70% of the urban population. So, among all of us sitting here, 10 of us here, 7 of us are going to die of a lifestyle disease. Lifestyle diseases, though they're scary, they're very easily manageable with just lifestyle changes and maybe a little bit of pills. So, diet, exercise, stress reduction, sleeping properly. So, if you can do all these things, then the incidence of these chronic diseases that you're talking about, especially kidney disease and other things, will come down. The other reason why we are seeing more, and our lifestyle nowadays is all messed. Where so much stress we're all facing nowadays. Every day in the newspaper, there's bad news. Pahalgam 2-3 days back, now 2-3 days something else will come. Before that, it was all the Ukraine, then Israel and all the other Palestine thing, all those going on. Every day some stress is going on that you cannot do anything about. The other reason why it looks like incidence is increasing, I think, is because awareness has increased now. People are doing kidney function tests because of social media. That's a good part of social media. People understand that kidney disease can be quiet and subtle, so they are doing more testing and they're picking up more. So I think it's these two reasons why the incidence of these chronic diseases are going on. One, it's a true increase because of the lifestyle changes and the other problems that people are facing. And second thing is awareness is increased, so people are testing more and we're finding out more.
I had a friend. He needed a kidney transplant. This was about 3 years back. He tried desperately here, but there is some program.
Correct.
Through which you cannot do anything about it. You have to wait for your turn.
Yes.
Ultimately, I think he got operated in Singapore. He had to leave. So, what is your analysis of the situation? What is your opinion on this situation?
Yeah. So,
and how many cases do we have pending like this?
This solution, one is a standard, soft, along the guide wire kind of solution, and there's a radical solution. The problem with doing kidney transplants in our country is the regulations are strict. There are only 3 types of transplants possible. One is a live related, and live related we're talking about a first degree relative. First degree relative means mother, father, siblings, husband, wife, children. These are first degree relatives. Uncles, aunties, cousins are not considered first degree. So if you have a first degree relative and they're fit to donate and you've done all the matching and all, you can straight away go. You don't need any permission from anybody. But you need to prove the relationship, and you can prove it. You can do HLA testing and prove the relationship. So live related is one solution. And that can be done within a month. Do all the testing and then go ahead. Second is live unrelated. Now, till I think about 10-15 years ago, anybody was considered unrelated, was a valid unrelated donor. like somebody who is a friend, or somebody who is a close acquaintance, or somebody who works for that person for the last 10-15 years. So those were also clubbed as unrelated and permitted, saying that they're giving kidney out of love. But of late, regulations have become much stricter, and unrelated would only be considered if you are a second or third degree relative. So mother-in-law, grandfather, cousin, and there are ways of proving this. Like cousin will have the same surname, and you can show cards or whatever, Aadhaar card or whatever, saying or saying in the same place. We can also, somebody might say I'm cousin, but actually not. We can prove it. For example, they'll take, say you come to me and say he needs a kidney. You are a very close friend of his. You know him from childhood. I can ask for school leaving certificates. Childhood, you should be having that. If that is also not there, I'll take you into separate rooms. I'll interview him and I'll ask him, did you have pets when you were a kid? What is the name of the pet? Then you are not listening to that. I can come to you and ask you, did you have any pets when he was a kid? What is the name of the pet? Obviously, if you are really close to him, you'll know. So there are ways of proving it. So that is live unrelated, and for that we need to take permission from the government. The onus is on the government to prove that there is a true relationship between these two people, between the donor and recipient. And once the government gives permission, only then we go ahead and do it. So that is the second type. The third type is what we are talking about, Jivan Dhan. It is there in every state where you are registered. It's called cadaver transplant, in other words, where people who die in accidents or they have some brain bleed, sudden deaths, cancers, those people, if the family agrees, then they can get the organs and then we can do the transplantation. The Jivan Dhan scheme is very tightly regulated. You have the apex body is at NIMS. I'm talking about our state, Telangana. So apex body is at NIMS. So the patient, say you're the patient, I don't want you to be the patient, but in case you're this, hypothetically, you're on dialysis, and we only choose those who are on dialysis, not pre-dialysis patients. So once you're on dialysis, you're eligible to get registered for the Jivan Dhan scheme. So you apply through the hospital, then hospital does all the investigations and all to prove that you're fit to undergo the transplant. And then once that is done, your name is registered in the NIMS group, in the apex body, and also registered in the hospital, parent hospital. So you want it done at Apollo Hospital. So you'll register through Apollo Hospital to NIMS, and then you will wait. So once you say somebody dies and wants to, one of the family members want to donate the kidney, that is mentioned to the NIMS people. So the NIMS people will go through the list on the priority list and say this. First, what they do, they look at the hospital. So you have a hospital priority list and you have a patient priority list. So, for example, say Apollo gets a kidney last week. Next week, it will not be our turn. So that also goes by rotation. So the kidney is available. NIMS will see and say which hospital is in the priority list. Then they will ask that hospital for their priority list, who is there, and they will tally that priority list with their list, the list that they have. So it's very tight. Nobody can skip the thing because it's open to everybody. And this priority list is open on the website. Anybody can go see it. So you can go see your priority number. So it's very tightly done. So this is how it works. And then it takes time. What to do? So 1 to 2 years generally is a waiting period. Sometimes when some hospital refuses, they don't have a recipient, then the other hospital gets a turn. So then you might get accelerated. So your friend who waited 3 years, that is general waiting period, and it has to be this way. Now this is the standard solution. The radical solution which I was talking about, it is practiced I think in Iran and some places like that. Spain has a different story, I'll tell you that. But Iran, it's like selling a house or selling land. It's all done by the government only. So I don't know whether that rule is still there even now, but this is like 15 years ago. This is what it was. You go, somebody wants to donate a kidney, they find a recipient. They go to the government. It's registered there, and unless you registered for selling land, you sell your kidney, and then when the time comes, it's done. So the responsibility is the person who's selling the kidney. It's his responsibility, whether he wants to or not. So this is the radical solution. Whether that's correct or not, difficult to say because if you look at it from a very basic perspective, somebody is dying for a kidney. He wants something. The other person is dying because of poverty. So maybe, I mean, if you look philosophically, maybe it's okay. But
it's a danger that it could be misused.
Exactly. So that's always everything, no? Kalyan, everything has a potential to be misused. We try to do things the best that we can, but it has a potential to be misused. So this could be misused. That's where the regulations came, because people were misusing it. These people were just buying and selling left, right and center, and then nobody was bothered whether the donor was actually fit or not to donate was another thing. So if the government does it, then maybe it will be more streamlined, but then again, you cannot be completely guaranteed that even the government would do it in a proper way. So
one more thing I saw in your podcast or one of your videos is that you were speaking against taking rice, consuming rice.
Yes, yes.
Why is that? I have heard that so much, but what is the scientific reason?
So
I see only diabetes patients not taking rice.
So we're talking about diabetes only, and there's something called a glycemic index. Any food has something called a glycemic index. So you swallow it, the sugar is released, glucose is released, and gets into the bloodstream. Some foods, very quickly, the sugar, after you ingest it, it goes into the bloodstream. These are high glycemic index foods. Sugar obviously is one. Straight away it will go into the bloodstream. Rice is another one which has a high glycemic index. So these things with high glycemic index in diabetics are dangerous, because more than just a high blood sugar level in a constant level, more dangerous is the sudden spikes in blood sugar. So 100 to 200, 200 to 300, 300 to 100. When these spikes happen, that's more damaging to the organs, because when you're talking about diabetes, you're talking about end organ damage of other organs, not diabetes per se. Diabetes damages other organs. That's how it kills people. So these foods with high glycemic index are more dangerous because they can cause the sudden spikes and dips in the blood sugar. Also, high glycemic index foods will make you put on weight, because immediately there will be a spike in the blood sugar that immediately goes into the tissues and you start putting on weight. So for those people who are trying to lose weight, then rice is not to be taken. For others, I eat rice twice a day, but then I exercise regularly, and luckily I'm not yet diabetic. But if I was a diabetic, then I wouldn't be eating rice so often. If I wanted to lose weight, then I wouldn't be eating rice so often. And I'm sure all of us have noticed it. If we avoid eating rice, we do lose weight. So that's the reason why I said avoid rice. Not standard blanket restriction to avoid rice, but those who have a problem like diabetic or those who want to lose weight, then we should.
Coming to the topic of food, actually, since my childhood, what my mother suggests that not to mix tomato with palak. So she says that you get kidney stones and this. And another advice.
She's right.
Yeah.
She's right. Now you know. She's right.
So this is the medical advice I got. And another advice which I got is that to remove the green part of the tomato and use it in the curry. So are there any combinations which we need to avoid so that we can avoid getting kidney stones? Such kind of recipes.
So she was absolutely right. She told you don't mix palak and tomato. Then also don't mix paneer and palak and tomato, because again paneer has got calcium in it. So if it all depends on if you have a stone or not, or there's a genetic tendency for having a stone. Otherwise you can mix and match anything you like, and again it's all about moderation. You can't have palak tomato every day. If you keep on having it every day, then the risks are more. Then the point about the seeds, apparently the tomato seeds are the ones which have most of the oxalate. So that puree is supposed to be safer. So, but again, be sensible. If you have a stone, then you be careful about all these things. But first try and analyze the stone and then make the dietary restrictions. Otherwise, generally eat what you want to eat. And I don't think anybody really would on a daily basis eat palak tomato. So once in a while, it's all fine. You need to enjoy life as well, right?
First, last month report, sir, we have seen 14% of certain kidney diseases. What are the causes? What are the reasons for it? Will it further increase but to higher level?
Yes, it will, sir. It will. Because kidney disease, the common causes of kidney disease, diabetes, blood pressure, stones, genetic diseases, medications, unnecessary painkillers, antibiotics. These are all the common causes of kidney disease. And all these are increasing. The incidence of diabetes is increasing. Today, and I think now Telangana is a diabetic capital of the world. Hyderabad is a diabetic capital of the world. Blood pressure also, Hyderabad is going way up there in the stakes. So blood pressure, diabetes, all these are increasing. The lifestyle diseases are increasing. Our dietary indiscretions are increasing. Our intake of painkillers and antibiotics is increasing because everybody is popping either an antibiotic. Somebody got cough, cold, fever, you take an antibiotic. You got some pain, ache pain somewhere, you take a painkiller. So all these are causing a surge in the kidney disease spectrum. In fact, about 5 to 10 years ago, kidney disease was, I think, number 17 or 18 in the list of killers among all the killers. So kidney disease was 17 or 18. The predictions are by 2020, by now 2025, 26, it's going to be the Homo sapien. It's to be about exercise, about shaping yourself up, and shaving. Yeah, Homo sapien. That was this, right? And then I'm a doctor, so Dr. Homo sapien. So that's how the idea of Dr. Homo sapien came. It came because of the COVID time, and I was lying on my back and thinking, I have so much knowledge, I need to share it with people. So that's the seed was germinated there, and now hopefully it become a tree.
How did music be a part of it?
So I've been into music from childhood. See, in our time, I'm talking about 10th standard, like about 1984, 82. Yeah, none of you were even born then, I think. So that time, if you wanted to, at that time you're 14, 15, right? You have only one goal in life, 14, 15, apart from education, is to impress the opposite sex, right? So that's the only goal you have. And the only way to do it in those days was either get a bike, roam around on that motorbike, or have the physique and all that, or music. These are the only three ways you could. Of course, money and all fine, but then you didn't have enough money or something which is not in your control. Bike at 15, you can't get a bike. And those days, you didn't have so much access to gyms. So getting a good physique also was out. The cheapest was buy a guitar. And that guitar, like I got it for some $500 or something that time. And once you buy it, it's an investment for life. So that's how I started getting into music. And those days, there were a lot of, maybe it's a generation gap, but I'm biased. Those days, I felt the music quality was much better than it is today. All the great bands, Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, Pink Floyd, Black Sabbath, to name all the bands, all the big bands were in those days. So whatever. So I got into music. Then, to make Homo sapien interesting, I thought I will put music into it. See, otherwise just talking about exercise and telling them you have to do this exercise, you have to do this way, that time you have to do this exercise, if you can club music with it, then it will make it much more interesting. And then I said, I have to introduce myself. Instead of just coming there and introducing myself as Dr. Homo sapien, why don't I, since I can play guitar also, why don't I introduce myself with music, which is what I did today. And also incorporate music into your exercise routine. I'll just go a little diverse direction here about music. How do you think, do you agree that music helps you exercise better?
Yes.
How do you think it helps you exercise better? Okay, we'll go one by one. You tell me. How does it make you exercise better? And you can say the same answer. It's not like, it's not an exam or something. Yes, because you're listening to something. What about you?
Since it is our favorite music, we'll be concentrated, and due to that rhythm, the music, we can apply that rhythm to our exercise.
Yes.
It will make my mind refreshing.
Correct. Because you listen to something you like, then you'll feel fresh. And the rhythm, you'll try and keep up with the rhythm, so you'll be able to exercise better. What about you?
For being more focused on music.
So your mind is diverted. You're not thinking about the exercise.
Physical exertion.
Yes. Yeah. What about?
Totally the same. It blocks out the thoughts.
Yes.
Otherwise.
Correct.
Don't prefer music during this.
Sorry?
You don't prefer music.
You don't prefer. Okay, fine. So we won't ask you that.
Mind muscle connection is needed.
Yeah.
It's distracting.
It distracts you from the physical exertion that you're. You don't buy that?
No, I don't know. I read about the mind muscle connection. Is how you would know better. But the music is too distracting.
No, that's the whole idea. No, see, because otherwise you're focusing so much on the body discomfort, you will not be able to continue doing it. But if your mind is focused on something else, then it takes your mind off. So that's one of the theories behind how music helps.
For me, it's like an adrenaline rush.
Hmm.
And it gives you the kick.
Correct. Okay, I'll tell you something which I learnt over the years. When you're exercising, say you're running on the treadmill, the single most demotivating factor, apart from, your legs are paining, you're sweating, you're feeling tired, you're uncomfortable, is the sound of your breathing. When you hear that sound, immediately your brain will get a signal, boss, you're tired, stop. When you hear that sound, and you know what music does? It blocks that sound. You can't hear yourself breathing and you don't realize how tired you are. And I actually experimented on myself and proved it. First I did without music. I could run 1 kilometer. Then I had to stop. Then I started playing music but slight low volume. I could do 1.2. Increase the volume. I kept on, increasing the volume. Finally at full volume, I could do 2 and I still could continue because I couldn't hear myself breathing and gasping. So that's what music does, apart from all these other things. And this I found out on my own. And from then on, I make sure that music, of course, you don't want to have it too high a volume because it will knock off your ears then. But a sensible volume where it can almost drown out the sound of your breathing. And that's the biggest demotivating factor. So this is how music, it's a long answer to your question, but this is how I incorporated music into Homo Sapien. And this is what I tell them whenever I do these gigs and I talk to people, groups of people. When I talk about how to go about things, including the Homo Sapien time matrix and all the motivational factors that I use, I tell them also about how music helps you. And I actually demonstrate it. I make them do stationary jogging without music. Then they're all feeling tired, then I put music. And which music I put? Eye of the Tiger. And then they're feeling more enthusiastic then.
But what exercises do you advise for a beginner, for instance?
Yes. Remember, it's 1 hour. Now, 1 hour is bare minimum. It's if you want, you can do more also. It's not like you have to stop at 1 hour. It always has to be a combination of cardiovascular training and strength training, weight training. You cannot do only one. There are some people who will just do 1 hour of cardio and go away. There are some people who will do 1 hour of weight training and go away. That's not enough. Because both of these things, different types of exercises, have got different effects on the body. Cardiovascular exercise will just increase your stamina and lower your pulse rate and make you lose weight. But the problem is you will not lose only fat. You will lose muscle also. And when you lose muscle, your metabolic rate, which is the dynamo which runs your body, your metabolic rate depends on your muscle mass. So if you have more muscle, your metabolic rate is higher. That means even when you're not exercising, you're burning calories because your muscle is demanding calories. So if you've got good muscle, even when you're not exercising, you'll still be burning. Those who only run or do only cardio, they will lose muscle. So that muscle is less, so the metabolic rate will go down. They will lose weight only while they're running. When they're not, the BMR is rock bottom and they will be again generating weight. That's why you notice most runners, I'm not talking about the professional runner, but those runners, they're thin, generally they're thin, but they're not flat. Their stomach is usually not flat. So for that, you will have to do weight training. If you do only weight training, you will not lose fat. You will get muscle, but you will build on fat as well. So you will become all bulky and your weight will go up. So it has to be complementary. So you do enough weight training to keep your muscles toned and strong enough, big enough, and you also do cardio to keep your weight under control. That is the optimal solution. Now, how much of each do you do? What I would recommend, of course, individual is different. Each person has their own thing. But what I generally do is about 15 to 30 minutes of cardio. That will include treadmill plus cycling. I don't do cross trainer. Cross trainer is very bad for the back. Try and avoid it. Either walking on the treadmill or cycling. And then I do about an hour of weight training.
Some people do only walking.
Not good enough. Not good enough. You have to do both. You have to do, because the strength of your muscles finally decides your balance and your joint strength and your joint stability. Because if the muscles are weak, Your joints are unstable, so you're likely to get joint problems down the line. So only walking is not enough. You have to strengthen the muscles as well. The biggest problem in older age group people are falls. And those falls are because of lack of balance or poor joints. And that's because of poor musculature. As you grow older, you start losing muscle. So unless you build it up, you are going to have a high risk of fall. So just walking is not enough. It has to be both. It has to be walking, it has to be cardio plus weight training and diet. All three. You can't have just two of them.
Diet, a normal diet in an Indian household, for instance, in Telangana household would be enough.
Absolutely enough. Unless, like I said, you are into professional bodybuilding, you're doing it for competitions or something, for those people, or wrestling or some kind of thing, or into some major sport, then you will probably have to take more protein. So that's only for elite athletes. It's not for us, recreational gymmers.
What is your idea of these alternatives like yoga, tai chi, kung fu?
Anything goes. Yes. Because we are talking about fitness and health. We're not talking about aesthetic fitness. All bulky, lean, six pack, all. We're not talking about that. That is not doesn't happen to normal people. We're talking about being reasonably fit, healthy, and happy. For that, you need to do exercise, eat anything, tai chi, yoga, whatever. You need to get your body moving. Because like I said, sitting is the new smoking. And when you move, insulin levels surge, your sugar levels come down, your blood pressure gets controlled, you feel better, endorphin and enkephalin surge. So you have to keep moving. So for that, whichever, whether it's yoga movement or tai chi movement or whatever, any exercise that suits you. But again, like I said, club it with some kind of resistance training, not just one thing. So it cannot be a unidimensional thing. So you have your yoga, even with yoga, you should do a little bit of light weights. Or if you're doing tai chi, do a little bit of cardio as well along with it. Combine all those things, and that also makes it interesting. Otherwise, it's boring, doing the same thing. If you do different things together, it keeps your interest going. And that's one thing. Lack of interest is one cause of demotivation. You have to make it interesting.
So there's a discussion about weight loss and fat loss.
Yes.
And as far as obesity or fitness is concerned, what is it somebody should, it's your layman, what should we focus on?
Yes. Fat loss, definitely. Again, weight loss, you could be losing muscle also, so you don't want that to happen. Now, the dangerous fat is called visceral fat. That is around the belly. And unfortunately, Indians are the world champions in that. Among all the races, Indian race has got the maximum visceral fat. That means visceral fat means around the belly, around all the important organs. All the important organs is the liver, the kidney, the spleen, all that is the intestines. So that's where Indians gather fat. And that is the risk factor for heart disease and for strokes, diabetes, blood pressure, visceral fat. So the target should be to reduce your visceral fat. That can happen only if you do regular exercise, weight training, cardio, and control your diet. So the Indian diet needs to be modified a little bit, because I think we have too much oil, and do a schedule into doing regular exercise and sticking to it, rather than focusing on weight. I wanted to get into this particular dress, I want to fit into this particular trouser. Don't go for that. Don't have those kind of targets. The target should be a lifelong commitment. Exercise, more of a commitment than marriage.
We have a colleague here in our office. He has been trying hard to lose weight. So I found out that he is on a fruit diet. Fruit diet. And he eats rice in the afternoon or something like that. But every night he is taking only fruits. Is that even advisable?
Yeah. So
given his weight and his height and everything.
So I'll tell you the cliche. The cliche is you should eat breakfast like a king. You should have lunch like a prince, and you should have dinner like a beggar. That is the cliche, and that is valid.
So he's right.
He's right. So dinner should be as minimalistic as possible. You eat well for lunch and breakfast. And again, exercise. It's not just about that. If he wants to lose weight, you'll have to exercise also and build up muscle. That will help him lose. And even if he doesn't, see, for example, if you do enough exercise, you'll put on muscle, so your weight will remain the same. In fact, that's what happens. When people join the gym for the first time, they do both cardio as well as weight training. And they paradoxically put on weight for the first 1 or 2 months, and then they get demotivated. But that's what's going to happen. Initially, your muscle will increase. So again, like I'm saying, it's not about aesthetics. It's not about weight. It's about how you feel. how energetic you feel, how healthy you feel, how good you feel about yourself. And if you exercise regularly, irrespective of your weight, you could, and you should get off this mindset, ki I want to reach this particular weight. Once you get into that, then you'll always be unhappy. So it's not about just pure weight loss, it's about how you feel. And he's right, and if he doesn't lose weight also, if he's feeling good, he's doing the right things. He's exercising regularly, he's eating less at night. And if he doesn't lose weight, so what? As long as you're healthy. How is his blood pressure and how is his blood sugar? That's what's important. It's not the weight, right? If his blood pressure, blood sugar is okay, you should be happy, that's it. That's more important than just, losing weight and fitting into a particular.
So you said that salt you take 6 to 10.
Yes, yes.
For water, 2 to 3 liters per.
Yes.
What is the sugar intake we should take, sir?
Yeah. See, you cannot really measure sugar. It's easy to measure salt and easy to measure water, but measuring sugar you cannot. But keep it simple. Try and avoid sugar as much as possible. I mean, once in a while you'll have some dessert, so that will have sugar in it. Once in a while you might have a soft drink. You might have this. You might have a banana. You might have a mango. So do that once in a while. Yes, you can. So you can't really measure, but don't have something sweet every day. Try and do it alternate day. Or if you have something sweet every day, that day you compensate by exercising more. There's always a trade-off for this. And I would not recommend going for sugar supplements like stevia and all that, because they have their own problems. So if you not advise sugar, better not to take sugar. If you're told not to take sugar, have your coffee without sugar instead of trying to have it with stevia.
So as far as the kidney ailments are concerned, is there any specific observation in terms of geographical conditions in the country?
Oh yeah.
North and south and east and west, because food habits also change. Does that also affect the cases of kidney ailments?
Yes. So like I said, the kidney ailments come with more salt intake. Those who have got high blood sugars, those who have got high blood pressure, those who have got heart disease. So geographically in our country, not really, but then yes, you can argue that people in the north, they have more sweet, they have more oily food. People over here have more spices in the south.
For instance, in AP, there is a place called
Udanam. I was just coming to that. In fact, I thought she asked me that question because of that. So in Prakasam district, there's a place called Udanam, where normally the prevalence of chronic kidney disease is about, in a country, is about 17%, 15 to 17%. In Udanam, it is 30%. And nobody has been able to find out why. They have had task forces going there. NIMS have sent people, a lot of other hospitals have sent people to that area to find out why that particular group of that area there's so much kidney disease. They finally concluded, but nobody is still sure about it. They concluded the fluoride in the water there is on a higher level, so they have fluorosis, and that is what is causing the surge of kidney disease. So that is in our country, but again, like I said, nobody knows the reason why. And your question won't be answered if I tell you, yeah, it happens here, but we don't know why. What we know is high risk behavior, smoking, alcohol, more weight, high blood pressure, high blood sugar, taking a lot of painkillers, antibiotics. This high risk behavior will push you into kidney disease. So that's what we know. And geographically, there's no particular area which these things happen. So I don't think we can say specifically. But in this particular case, Udanam, yes, it's there, but nobody knows the cause. There are some other areas in the world also, where in Danube, in Yugoslavia, that river basin over there, there's a lot of heavy metals in that water there. So people in that area have got high incidence of kidney disease, high prevalence. And it is called Balkan nephropathy. It's in the Balkans, right? So it's got a term there. Then there's another thing called Chinese herb nephropathy. Nephropathy is the term for kidney disease, a technical term. And it was found in a lot of, I'm going historically, in Belgium, I think, a lot of ladies were getting it because they were using these Chinese herbal slimming pills. So the ladies in Belgium, they wanted to lose weight, so they were using these slimming pills, and a lot of them were getting kidney disease. Then people did biopsies and went into the background and found that all these ladies were taking those Chinese herbs. So now it's called Chinese herb nephropathy. And the chemical which is used there is aristolochic acid. So the slimming pills are also dangerous. Anything is dangerous. Hair dye is dangerous. You hear of so many small hair dye, kidney failures.
Hair dye, what has it got to do with
They drink it.
they drink it?
Suicidal attempts.
Oh, okay.
That the commonest method to do suicide, one is the hair dye, other is paraquat, which is used for as a pesticide.
Yeah.
So paraquat, these are the two things in our country where people used to commit suicide, try, and then they get kidney problems because of this.
Doctor, I want to know, why did you get into this profession in the first place?
Okay. I'm not going to be politically correct here, okay?
No.
So, when I was a kid, we had only three options. After 10th, you either do medicine or you do engineering, or medicine or engineering. Sorry, from 10th you do either art, science or commerce. Art, science or commerce, only three options. If you go into arts, whatever, commerce, BCom, CA. You go into science, only medicine or engineering, no other options. My father was an engineer, and initially in my 5th and 6th I was a little weak in maths, so he would teach me. He was a damn good teacher, but he was very impatient. I was so much yellings I would get because I was not doing the sums properly. So when I got the opportunity to get into engineering or medicine, I said, if I get into engineering, he's going to start teaching me again, and then he'll make my life hell, because he'll go through all the textbooks and then he'll ask me questions, and then I said, let me do something which he knows nothing about. So that's why I went into medicine. And my mom always wanted me to be a doctor. So that's how I went into medicine, because I didn't want to go into engineering.
So because of your father also, many of your patients say that you are very, very empathetic.
Well, I don't know. I want to keep that up. I'm glad if they feel that. But yeah, I mean, you should. It's one thing just being a doctor and not having any emotions and just treating. It's another thing to be empathetic. Sympathetic and empathetic were slightly different. Sympathetic is difficult because if you're sympathetic, then you don't become objective. I never treat my family members because, because of the connect there, you're not objective and you start treating the symptoms rather than the disease. So if they have fever, I'll give an antibiotic. If they have loose motion, because of the antibiotic, they have loose motions, I'll give something for the loose motions. Because the loose motions, I gave something, then they'll have constipation. Because they have constipation, they'll have vomiting. Because they have vomiting, I'll give something to prevent vomiting. So that vicious circle will go on and on. So I never treat my family members or other people because I'm sympathetic to them. I'm empathetic to the patient, so it's easier for me to treat. I can understand what their problem is, and I can also distance myself and be more objective rather than be subjective with them. So that's why. Empathetic, you should be. Because they're suffering. It doesn't cost you anything to be nice to somebody, right? Especially when they're suffering. I mean, you don't have to go the extra mile to be nice. Just be nice.
Some people are preferring for Ayurveda in this treatment.
Yeah. No. Because Ayurvedic treatment can cause kidney problems. It's well described. There's something called interstitial nephritis, which has been proven to be because of Ayurvedic treatment. Because people who have taken Ayurveda, they have kidney problem, we do biopsy and we find interstitial nephritis. They stop the Ayurvedic medicine and they get better. So Ayurveda, no. If you want to stretch something, some of my patients ask me, can we take homeopathy? So I say because homeopathy claims that, I don't have much details about it because I don't know, I haven't done a scientific study on it, but it claims that it's got no side effects. But if you ask me, any medicine that has got no side effects will not have any effect also. Side effect is part and parcel of effect. If it's no effect, then only you will have no side effect. So something which has only effect, no side effect is something which I can't buy. But if my patients are insistent on it, I said, okay, take it, but then make sure you continue my medicines as well. You take the homeopathy, and then we have to monitor your creatinine and kidney function properly.
Rural people and village
they go for that, yeah.
I saw that during COVID also. There was heavy rush at some place.
Yes.
I forgot the name of the place.
I'll tell you an interesting story. I had one person who was a Unani practitioner. And he got kidney problem. And suddenly, I was seeing him before. Actually, I had not seen him. He had been seen by some other nephrologist. And when He had mild kidney problem and he was going on pretty well. Then suddenly he came to me with a sudden jump in his kidney creatinine at a stage where he needed dialysis. So I asked him, what happened? What changed? Because otherwise you're going pretty smoothly. What did you do new? He said, no. Because I had kidney problem, I started eating goat kidneys. Thinking that will replace my kidney. And goat kidneys are very high protein. Any organ meat is very high protein, so that knocked his kidneys out.
So high protein is dangerous.
Goat kidneys are dangerous. If you don't use it. So if you have some brain problem, doesn't mean you have to eat goat brain. Or your liver problem, eat goat liver.
So asking on behalf of general public, there are two sections of public. Like one who can afford good quality food and good quality water infused with minerals and all. And there is another section who could not afford quality food because of their financial problems. So what is the suggestion you give for them to not get any kidney ailments in future?
Yeah.
And because these people always follow the YouTube channels and they see the videos and they follow the instructions they say. So what is the main suggestion you want to give to this section of people?
Yeah. So the high net worth income group of individuals, they have kidney problem because of a different set of reasons, and the low socioeconomic status or low income people have kidney problem for another reason. Now these high net worth individuals, their kidney problems are because of diabetes, blood pressure, obesity, metabolic diseases. So, and that's because of excessive dietary intake of sugar or salt or whatever, plus oil, salt, and following these YouTube channels and taking wrong advice from them. The guy in the street doesn't have access to YouTube channel, so he will not get these kind of ailments. These people will get this diabetes, blood pressure related ailment. What he will get is dehydration or poor fluid intake or some loose motions, diarrhea because he eats here and there, or he will get those kind of things. And that ailment is much better than this, because these are what we call acute kidney disease because of dehydration, and that can be easily corrected by just drinking more water. It's not the type of water that is important. Again, we complicate things, RO water, this water, that water, that's all unnecessary complication. Just plain water is good enough. Tap water is good enough as long as you boil it and then make sure that it's not contaminated. All this newfangled stuff now, where they do all these treatment, water treatment, it's almost like you're having an RO plant in your house. That's not required. Keep it simple. So simple is drink enough water. So the man on the street, make sure he drinks enough water. He shouldn't get dehydrated. And food, let him have normal food. Whatever he's eating is good enough. It's not that food is going to make a major difference in his situation. But in this high net worth individual situation, food is going to make a difference because of the kind of junk food that they eat. So, from one side they'll eat junk food, and from the other side they'll look at all the YouTube channels and then they'll try and take advice from there. Keep it simple. You can minus both of them, just eat properly, and you don't even need to follow any advice from the YouTube channel and get wrong advice from there.
So, in the topic of RO purifier, most of the middle class are being targeted of this RO purifier kits and so on.
Yes.
So, what are the things we need to see this water should have, which minerals should be contained, so that we don't have to go to this RO purifier and drink that water, or we take water from the tap water. What are the main things we need to consider?
Yeah, you don't need to consider anything, because this is all market driven. It's all finance driven. All these RO plants and all. 10 years ago, nobody cared about these things. We still would drink whatever water was available and nothing would happen to us. This is all a method to sell their product. Otherwise, you don't need to check all that. Pure ordinary tap water will give you whatever minerals you want. In fact, this RO thing will probably remove some essential minerals. So that's probably even more counterproductive and more dangerous. Best is to drink tap water and boil it. Boil it and drink it. That's it. So that, no contaminant. That's it. Simple. This is all market driven only. It's not that they're doing it for the safety or sake of the people. They want to sell their RO product. That's why they're doing all this.
Like you said, RO is RO water as good as distilled water because of a lot of minerals in the water.
So why would you want to lose minerals?
Right, that's what.
So we don't know. You don't want to drink distilled water. A chemistry school, college, in chemistry lab, you have distilled water. Nobody would want to drink it. You drink normal water only. But drink enough. That's what's important. See, you'll get enough minerals from your food. You don't need to have water to get your minerals. Whatever you want, you get in your standard food.
1 hour of exercise. Does the time matter? You briefly mentioned it when you were talking about the work of motion.
So it's minimum. See, because when you exercise, you can't just go straight and start. You'll have to do 10-15 minutes of warm-up. You'll have to do at least 15 minutes of cardio. Because doing 5-minute cardio makes no sense. That itself 30 minutes gone. Now, remaining 30 minutes for weight strength training. So if you want to do a proper, complete complementary workout, you will need a bare minimum of 1 hour. You cannot do it in less than 1 hour. All this high intensity training and all, which is say 45 minutes or you do 15 minutes, that doesn't help in the long run because you will injure yourself. In high intensity, the younger age group can do it, but we're talking about older age group, 40 plus, 50 plus, they will not be able to do high intensity exercise. For them, it has to be a nice, proper, channelized, structured 1 hour program. Yeah, that depends on you and your work. For me, I cannot do in the morning because from morning 8 o'clock itself, I'm not a morning person. Morning 8 o'clock itself, phone calls come and then they keep distracting you. You're on the treadmill and then you get a call from the hospital, you have to take it. So then that whole thing gets fractured. For me, in the evening, once I've finished with all my work, I've settled all the patients, that's when I work out. And what I do is I brainstorm while exercising. So whatever patients I've seen during the day, I'm thinking about them and I'm planning what I will do with them tomorrow. And it's all set in my mind. And if this test result comes as this, what will I do? If this comes as that, what will I do? All these plans are already there in my mind. I'm doing it while exercising. And next day morning, I implement it. So I've just saved so much time and it's a useful, productive exercise session. So I prefer to do it in the evening. But if you're you're a morning person, you're very energetic, you get up early in the morning. Ideally, yes, morning is a better time to exercise for two reasons. One is you're fresher. Two, you're slightly calorie deprived in the morning because you're fasting the whole night, right? So you will probably, if you want to lose weight, that's probably a better time. So more freshness plus more chance of losing weight. But remember, even in the morning, make sure you eat something. Don't ever exercise on an empty stomach. Even whether it's morning, afternoon, evening, you should have, and don't have this pre-workout and all which all these kids have, because pre-workout has got caffeine in it. Caffeine will knock out your sleep and it will increase your blood pressure. It causes also, and it's got, many of them have got sugar in it, got salt in it. So it can easily be replaced by a cup of coffee and a banana. So that is your pre-workout. And this is the safest natural method. So do that and then do your morning workout. So again, you have to decide. And also your job. If your job allows you to, get there at 10 o'clock and you're an early riser and you can get up by 6, then yes, morning workout is for you. So individualize it. It's not like this is better or that is better. The end of the day, the bottom line is you have to exercise 1 hour a day. Morning, afternoon, evening, kabhi bhi, you have to find time for it. And finding time is always a challenge. So find the right time for it. That's up to you about your schedule.
Myths that people they fall prey to. You see you a lot of water. Some other common myths that you see people falling prey to.
Okay, one of course is the protein supplement thing, that myth that I hope I busted. Second is people switch off the AC when they work out because they want to sweat. They think if they sweat they lose weight, but actually what happens when you sweat, you only lose water. It's not like fat medicine comes out in your sweat. It is you're losing water and minerals. So in fact it's bad for you not working out in a conducive atmosphere and working out in a way that you want to sweat more. Other thing it does, if you sweat more, you can't exercise more. When you're sweating, you can't really enjoy your exercise. You can't exercise more, so it limits your exercise. So that's another myth which people have, that you should exercise in a hot atmosphere only then it's worth it. The other myth is water. Be careful with your water drinking. Don't drink tons and tons of water while exercising. Maybe in between sets have 2-3 sips of water. So what I would suggest is if you're doing a 2-hour exercise session, 500 ml of water extra, not 1 or 2 liters. But also some amount of water. You can't just say zero water, and because you drink less water, you might lose weight. That's how that's the way how these lot of these pills, diuretics work that way. You take a diuretic and then you pass more urine, so your body weight comes down. That's why diuretics are banned in Olympics and all that. Shane Warne also was banned because of diuretic. Remember for in the World Cup in South Africa? We took some diuretic to lose weight, and then they said this is a banned pill and you can't. So you should drink enough water, but keep it within that 500 ml limit. Other myths, again, about eating. When should you eat? 1 hour before. Don't eat immediately before exercising. Maybe 1 hour before, and don't have a very high intense diet, not a high quality diet. Something mild, maybe a fruit and maybe a cup of coffee or something, and 1 hour before, because gastric emptying time is about 30 to 45 minutes. So whatever you eat comes out of the stomach in 30 to 45 minutes. You don't want that stomach bloating to be there while you're exercising. So don't have a heavy meal before exercise. The other myth which I want to talk about, which is important, is low weight and more reps versus heavy weight and less reps. Because people say if you want to build muscle, you have to take very heavy weight and do less reps. So take 20 kilos and do only 10. Instead of taking 10 kilos and doing 20. So the high weight thing is take 20 kilos, do 10 into 3. And people say that builds up muscle better than taking light weight and doing more frequently. That's again a myth, because ultimately it's the amount of stress that you put on the muscle which makes it grow. It's not the intensity, it's the amount of stress. So you can put the same stress with taking low weights and doing it more frequently. So 10 into 20 into 3. So that is, let's make it mathematical. That's 200 into 3, that's 600. Whereas 10 into, 20 into 10 into 3 is the same thing. Now the advantage of doing light weights and more reps is, one, you don't injure yourself, because if you do heavy weights, you're likely to either mess up the muscle or the joint. Two, your form is better, because see, biceps is the easiest thing to demonstrate, so I'll tell you now. When you want to do biceps, this is your biceps muscle, and the action of biceps muscle is this. So if you want to work this muscle, you only want to work this muscle. You don't want to incorporate other muscles into this whole thing. For that, you have to fix this joint. The only joint you allow to move is this joint. So if you put too heavy a weight, can I stand and do it and show you? Should I stand and show you? See. So if you're putting a light weight and you're doing this, you can. It takes more time, but you better spend time on exercise than spending time with illness. Like somebody said, I would rather. I'm not getting that quote properly. No, if you don't find time for wellness, you will have to find time for illness. You have to spend time on it.
And then that I see on Twitter mostly.
Yeah, ask me any more myths. This is the myths I can just tell you offhand, off the head, top of my head. But if you have any more thoughts, ask me and I'll clarify it.
Especially from America and abroad mostly. They have their own social media accounts and they keep selling or marketing certain things. I forgot the name actually. It has something to do with herbs. Nootropics or something. They advise everything for nootrops. I mean, for bodybuilding, before that you need to take this in the form of capsules or whatever, this or that, this, that. What is your view about it? I don't get the name correctly, but I hope you got the drift.
I know, but Kalyan, I think it's pure common sense. Like I told you, this little pill, how much can it have? Which will replace a proper standard diet. This little pill will have nothing. This is again a market ploy to sell that pill, not to sell fitness. So I don't think we should go into that. Now there are some radical methods of trying to look young. I've forgotten the name. There's a very famous guy who's Brian something. He's some 50 or something, and he looks 30. And he has tried all sorts of things. He takes blood from his son. Now this guy,
trying to be reverse aging.
Yeah, and he's also doing something. I mean, whatever that team or whatever is suggesting something called plasmapheresis, where you remove the blood. Blood contains plasma, RBCs, WBCs and platelets. These are 4 components of blood, where the cellular component or the solid component is RBC, WBC and platelet, whereas the fluid component is plasma. So what they do is they take out the blood and they separate the plasma, and then they get plasma from some other younger person and put it into his, and then send the blood back in.
Sounds scary.
It is. We use plasmapheresis left, right and center to treat diseases. When sometimes the disease is in the plasma, antibody mediated diseases. So we remove the plasma as antibody. So we separate it, we throw out the disease one and we put fresh plasma inside, and then, but that is for a disease, but it has a lot of side effects. It can cause infections because you have to give 10, 15 units of blood of somebody else. You don't know what that guy might have. Plus, you lose a lot of protein in the process, so your immunity might come down. Plus, you have to put lines with big thick lines. You can bleed from there, you can get clots from there. It's a very dangerous process, and they want to do it for normal people. We do it for diseased people, taking into account the risk and the benefit. But this guy wants to. So these are all out of the box, silly thoughts, if you ask me. This is my personal opinion, but I'm sure most doctors also will tell you, one little pill is not going to make all that difference. And doing all these radical treatments, or taking blood from your son, or doing this plasma therapy, these things, I don't think they're sensible, and I don't think they should be recommended to anybody. Like I said, it's always to keep it simple. Simple things are simple, and we should keep it simple. Eat properly, exercise properly, lead a nice, happy, content life, and that's the way you should go. Why would you want to look 30 when you're 50? Or why would you want to be 30 when you're 50? You can look 30, okay, you can try to do that. Why would you want to be 30?
People are busy, people drinking water less than 2 liters of water. Is it good, or it will have impact on
it will have impact, because 2 to 3 is the recommended thing. If you really want to cut it down, 1.5, but less than that, I definitely would not recommend. But definitely, even 1.5 is asking for trouble. So you drink 1.5 liters today, and you have loose motions tomorrow. You're already on a negative balance. You're likely to have your kidneys already like on the edge. The kidneys are always on the edge. Whenever any problem happens anywhere, the kidney starts giving trouble. In fact, when I do rounds and all, when I see any patient, if I see that the creatinine is improving, I say, yes, you're better. If the creatinine is not improving, the patient says, I'm better, I know there's something wrong, and I will be proved right the next day. Something will turn up the next day. So kidneys are very sensitive organs, and then we should take care of them, and they're always on the edge of dehydration. It's a preferred organ, by the way. 20% of the blood which the heart pumps out goes to the kidney. 20%. And the kidney weighs only 300 grams. The brain, which weighs 1.5 kilos, gets 25%. So the kidney is more important than the brain, and is always on the edge of dehydration because of so much blood supply. It's always on the edge. So if you drink less, you're asking for trouble if something goes wrong the next day. So 1.5, 2.
we see people are drinking less water.
Yeah, their body has somehow accustomed it, but they're on the edge. They're more likely to get into a kidney situation compared to the guy who drinks 2 to 2.5 liters.
Going away from the nephrology aspect of it, what changes or what improvements do you think that the medical system in India can have?
Okay, I think we should focus more on preventive care rather than reactive care. You should be more proactive with prevention, because you can prevent so many problems and diseases and the best way to do preventive care is education. And okay, let me give you an example of preventive care. There are actually 5 levels of preventive care. And we'll take the prototype of blood pressure as a disease in preventive care. The first step is to prevent the risk factors of the disease. Not the disease, the risk factor. The risk factor of hypertension is salt. So you, at a school level itself, you tell the parents, teachers, kids to eat less salt. The second level is prevention of the disease. So you monitor the blood pressure and all that, and then if the BP is on the higher side, then you advise about how to avoid exercise, all those things. Then the third level is once a disease has already come, to prevent the complications of the disease. Like say the blood pressure has already come. Complications of blood pressure is kidney disease, heart disease. So you prevent those complications by controlling the BP and doing surveillance and all that, and education and all that. The fourth level is to prevent death and disability because of the disease. So somebody has got high blood pressure and they have got kidney disease. You want to prevent dialysis or prevent transplant or prevent death. So that is the fourth level of prevention. And the fifth level of prevention is the most interesting one, is to prevent unnecessary medications. This has to be taught to the doctors, not to the patient. So any disease has these 5 levels of prevention, of which I think, if you ask me, the most important is the 5th level, where you have to educate. First level, definitely important, educate the people, the families. And the second level, 5th level is educate the doctors also, so that, that unnecessary medication, antibiotics are given left, right and center by people. Because of that, we have drug resistance now. Standard antibiotics are not working. There should be some stewardship and some direction. So that's one. I think preventive healthcare is what we should be looking at more. And preventive healthcare, apart from all the education on these 5 levels, also includes investigation. Like I said, before 20, everybody should. Why just kidney? Everybody should have an ECG. Everybody, you heard of sudden deaths in the football field because of some cardiac arrhythmia, like what is that Denmark footballer Christiansen. In one of the recent Euros, he collapsed on the field, remember? And they had to do CPR, and then finally they put a pacemaker, and then now he played again. Next he played again. So yeah, that is because of a cardiac arrhythmia. So ECG, blood sugar, BP, creatinine, X-ray, these should be done by the age of 20 for everybody, and the government should do it. It should be mandated, and then government should sponsor it. So for poor people, so this thing should also start. So basically what I'm trying to say is about these are the changes which we expect, and it should come from a preventive healthcare perspective. The other thing which I'm surprised none of you have asked me about so far is about artificial intelligence in medicine. Was it one of the questions?
Because my view was that I had that idea when she asked some question. People are going to it, but we are not supposed to do it.
No, artificial intelligence is coming, and we should embrace it. Because
no, my question was earlier that people are going to artificial intelligence for everything.
Yes. No, again.
Suppose I have a disease, or
yes.
I suspect I have something.
Yes.
I will type the symptoms and say whether I have this disease or not.
And it will come out as cancer. Whatever symptom you have will be cancer only. Whatever symptom, finally you end up with cancer only. So, yeah. No, but artificial intelligence can be helpful if it is used in the right way. So, if you use it for one symptom and assessment, so you can, and it should be used by the doctor.
It cannot replace the doctor.
It cannot replace the doctor. So, it should be used by the doctor, not by the patient. So, the patient, so it will help the doctor in that way. See, otherwise, it is all about memory. You hear, okay, these symptoms. So, you categorize your disease, differential diagnosis. It could be this, and the most common one is likely. So, you investigate that. So, that would help the doctor if you have this artificial intelligence doing others sitting and thinking. You might forget a few things, and you might miss out a few things. This will make sure that you don't miss out anything. So, diagnostics. I'm talking about mental diagnostics, thinking about differences. It's also helpful in actual true diagnostics, reading X-rays, CTs, those films, ECGs. If you can do it properly, it can. Because otherwise, for example, as a nephrologist, it might be difficult for me to find subtle problems in an ECG. Or I might miss subtle things on an MR or a CT because I'm not an expert there. I'm a nephrologist, I'm not a radiologist. So this could help you there. Therapeutics, especially drug reactions or drug interactions. Some drugs interact with each other, and it's impossible with so many drugs to understand which drug is interacting with which one. So if you, AI could help you there, and if you could decide this particular, and it gives you an alert, this drug that you are prescribed can interfere with this one that he's already taking, then it will help you into fine tuning the medicine better. And also surgery. I mean, you can do robotics using AI, but again, like I said, all of this should be under the control of the doctor. Only then it works. It will not work if it's under the control of a non-medical person. So, and talking about, can it ever replace a doctor? No, because I can smell kidney disease. I can smell it. Some patient who has got kidney disease for a long time, with the creatinine is high, so many years I've seen patients with high creatinine, I can smell it. They have a particular smell. A robot will not be able to do that. A patient walks into my room, from the pattern of a neurologist, from the pattern he's walking, he can make a diagnosis. The robot will not be able to do that. Plus, this empathy that we are talking about, robot will not do it. I mean, a robot is giving empathy, you won't accept it. As a patient, I mean, if a robot is giving empathy, would you accept it? You wouldn't. You want a human being to, because you know the robot is just putting it on. It's phony. It's not true. So that empathy will not be there with a robot. So, and also the analysis that we do, I think no matter how advanced a robot is, the human mind is still, there is some thing in the human mind which gives you certain leaps of insight. It happens to all of us. You're familiar with Daniel Kahneman, the heuristics. Thinking fast, thinking slow. Are you familiar with that? He won the Nobel Prize for economics, or I think economics for that, behavioral economics. So he says we have two systems. One is the fast system and one is the slow system. Fast system is I look at her and then I immediately, my mind runs and I decide, okay, she's a nice person. I look at you. No, you're a nice person. I'm just giving you an example. No, he's not a nice person. How does that happen? That only human mind can do it. Because you have probably, I have seen a lot of people like her and all those people I liked. So I look at her and I assume she's a nice person. You maybe have seen somebody who looked like you, who I didn't like. So these heuristics which will happen only in the human mind. And many a time, this is the fast system and slow system. Many a time the fast system is correct. Your gut feeling, what they say, many a time it's correct. So robot can't do all this. I know it's a long story, and a lot of it is a personal thing that I'm saying. But
is it being adopted from somewhere?
Yeah, they're trying to do it. They're trying to get robots to examine, to get to prescribe treatment and be empathetic. It's going to happen, and I think the way things are going now, very few people are going into medicine. No, a lot of seats are falling vacant. At the end of the day, we might be treated by robots. I might be treated by a robot one day. But I don't agree with it. I mean, I think they're useful, but to a certain limit only, and only if it is used by a human. Yeah.
Doctors, have you seen them using AI to diagnose symptoms? Have you used it?
If you want to call Google or up-to-date AI, yes. In fact, it is a kind of AI. See, in our time, I mean, by my time, I'm talking about my residency learning days, training days. That time, if you had a particular disease and you wanted to learn about it, you either had to go to the textbook or you had to go to the journals. Journals mean you have to go to the library and you do search all those journals and figure out where your article is, and then do cross references and do it. Now I just open the computer and I type it in and I see whatever, all the information that I want, and I can decide which is correct and which is not correct, depending on the site that I've gone to. For example, if I go to Google, then it will not give me the correct information. The Google AI which comes now, it might not necessarily give you the correct information. Wikipedia will not give you the correct scientific information. So I will go to something called emedicine.com or medscape.com, which are well-known medical sites, or uptodate.com, which are written by other doctors and they're peer-reviewed properly. So I can get within 5 minutes, I can get whatever information I can. So I am using AI that way. A lot of our hospital surgeons are doing robotic surgeries where they control the robot, but then they're using it. Using AI to read CT films, diagnostics, I don't really require to do it because we have enough people to do that. And using it, we use AI for drug interactions. You know, if we get red flags that this drug could interfere with that. That in some places we can, but luckily in our hospital we have a very strong pharmacy group who will do a prescription audit before sending, or even in the wards, they will come and check all the prescription, all the medication, and they'll tell you that this particular drug is going to interact with it, so you can modify it then. So in some ways, yes, I am using AI, but definitely not as a substitute to seeing a patient. I am seeing them.
Any more questions? Thank you so much, Dr. Andrews.
It was a pleasure. I enjoyed myself. Before we end, I want to discuss a little about cardiorenal syndrome, the heart and the kidney, because I have a small signature step. This is for the Gen Z, for the Generation Z, because they like all these signature moves and all. So the heart and the kidney are very closely connected. There's something called a cardiorenal syndrome, where if you have heart problem, you can have kidney problem. If you have kidney problem, you have heart problem. They are very closely interlinked. So this is my signature step. I'll do it there?
Yeah.
Okay. Protect your kidneys, improve your heart, and save your life. That's for the Gen Z.
That's nice.
Protect your kidneys, improve your heart, save your life.